Thank you everyone for hanging in there. We got a couple of good stories for you now. So the first instance of this PFAS contamination happened in my state, in my town next door, where we detected PFAS at really high levels at a water well that was shut down in 2014 that was put for some reason in the middle of an airstrip on an Air Force base. I don't know why they did that. They thought that was a good idea. So that well was shut down, the biggest supply well on the seacoast of New Hampshire. We then started to unravel this situation. And as Representative Kildee said, there are over 400 bases just like ours in Pease, the Pease Air Force Base in Portsmouth across the country. So we're beginning to unravel this situation. And we have done a lot of work in passing some important legislation in the state of New Hampshire. We have really done some work trying to get enforceable drinking water standards both on the state level and the national level with many of our partners you heard from today. And that involves moving people along with us. And as Representative Kildee said, you don't always make it on the first try. But important steps are taken in bringing more people along. You heard Representative Kildee say that some of the people that should have been more supportive were then more supportive after that NDAA failed. So there's a variety of ways we do that. We do that with our partners like our Representative Rokana and Representative Kildee. We do that with inspiring, someone else, I think it was Rep. Kildee, talked about moving people as well. So we formed an organization called New Hampshire Safe Water Alliance, and I'll ask you guys to all go on Facebook. I know Facebook's a little old for you guys, but we have a group on Facebook called New Hampshire Safe Water Alliance where we work together to form coalitions to inform people, to motivate people, to inspire people to get involved. Through that process of that work, and through the process of Pease Air Force Base, I'm involved with restoring the aquifer, I met this wonderful woman, Doris Brock. And Doris Brock is the wife of a veteran who has died, an Air National Guard worker who was at Pease. And so part of the effort of bringing people along is to have these people's stories be raised so they can have a personal connection with what is actually going on and how it impacts the people. So I'd like to bring Doris up to present her story to you. And this is part of our effort to help people understand how impactful and how important and serious the situation is across the nation. Thank you very much. Doris Brock.
Okay, that's great. All right. Thank you, Mindy.
Thank you, Mindy. And I also want to thank the Breast Cancer Organization for inviting me to share my story with you. It really does impact everybody, and I'm going to be telling you about the military installations. And I have a personal connection to the military installation because my husband was in the Air National Guard. And when you talk about the Air National Guard, you think it's just a weekend warrior kind of thing where they only do their 1 week in a month and 2 weeks of active duty a year. My husband worked at Pease Air Force Base for 35 years, 7 days a week. He worked there as a full-time guardsman, and it was a wonderful life. Military life is really, a wonderful thing. We're a big family. We all, get together. It's just when this came about, and I want to talk a little bit about how this came about. When he retired in 2005. I was still working, and several years later, he was diagnosed with stage 4 bladder cancer, and it affected his prostate as well. And at the time that we got this diagnosis, we were told that he had 3 to 5 years to live. It was at that point that I left my employment and became his full-time caregiver. And you don't think about, what would cause that type of cancer. His surgeon, when we met with him, asked him if he had ever gone to Vietnam. And we thought it was a funny question. But what he said to us was, and that was the thing that actually clicked in my mind, was that, why are you asking this question? He said that his cancer was very consistent with what he had seen in those people who served in Vietnam and had been exposed to Agent Orange. So when that clicked, you start doing a little bit of research, and you find out that there's more people out there that are affected, through their military service. The National Guard, has been the almost active duty Air Force, Army, Marines since 9/11. There were a lot of base closures back in 1990, and so the Air Guard actually took over, or all of the Guard units. So they became the deployable units. So in looking back at this, while my husband was ill, we had friends, that contacted us and said, did you know that so-and-so had this cancer? Did you know that so-and-so had this cancer? And bottom line of that is that at that particular point in time, I had a list of 62 names that were our friends, and 39 had died from cancers, many before the age of 65, which is really a very high number, and it's just our friends. So I just, I became the caregiver, didn't really do a lot with it. He passed away in June of 2017. I actually didn't do anything with that for quite some time. But the numbers, there were people who were still getting in touch with me during that year after he passed. And the numbers started climbing. And if you ever wanted to get the attention of any military installation, do an interview with media. That works every time. So I did this interview and I talked about this and only my personal story and described the numbers. And our Air National Guard actually got wind of it, and so did our delegates, and they wanted to do something about that. It took 4 months for them, to pull something together,